What was the family's reaction to the verdict?
The mom was in court. Actually, we had her at the courthouse. She was actually going to be in a separate room, and she was in there with her parents and some other family members. The victim was not present in that room, and I was actually a representative with some other family members in the courtroom, and so they were reacting in the area that the court administrator had placed them in outside the courtroom. And during then the finding of the delinquency and the allocution statements made by the defense, the mom decided it just got so emotional she wanted to be present in the courtroom, so she actually came in and was present when the two boys issued their statements, both of which were apologies to the family.
Does she feel that justice was done?
First of all, the family's just kind of relieved to get through with this whole thing. This thing was obviously very trying and stressful for the entire family, knowing that their little girl, 16-year-old daughter, was going to have to appear before media, judges, attorneys, and to discuss a night that when some despicable things happened. So they were very fearful of their daughter's well-being to go through a process like this. It's a very trying thing for a woman to go through a rape trial when they're the victim, and because oftentimes the fingers are pointed at them for conduct that some people might find unbecoming or contributory. And plus you also risk the potential of being exposed as to other types of sexual activity that occurs. We have some laws that somewhat shield and protect that, and they're called rape shield laws, but it's a very difficult thing, and the crime of rape is significantly underreported because of that, because of the attacks on the victims. And here we have a 16-year-old girl standing up for women across the country that was brave enough to actually go into court and to help prosecute a case and to see that justice was served.
Bob Fitzsimmons is with us, attorney for the family of the 16-year-old rape victim. The mother afterwards said to the attackers, "You were your own accuser through social media that you chose to publish your criminal conduct on." She added that the case does not define who my daughter is. She will preserve and grow and move on. Let's go back to the first part of that. Give me your general thoughts about the role of social media in all this. On one hand, was it just appalling, all the things that were said and done and posted, or on the other hand, did it leave a trail that frankly helped the prosecutors?
Well, it's both. That's a great point, that it has its positive effects and it has its negative effects, which most things do. They have some positives and some negatives. But had it not been for social media, there would not have been a crime probably reported at all, because this girl was unconscious and unable to even realize what was going on. So social media provided that vehicle for the prosecution and the investigators, Detective Rignall and the other detectives, that were able to achieve a prosecution and an ultimate conviction in this thing. So it was very good on that sense. On the other side of the coin, though, is that it's a problem that exists with children, probably adults also, that people feel that somehow when they text or they send these messages, I don't think they necessarily give good thought to what they're saying, that it's going to be perpetuated. It's unlike phone conversations in the past that you could say something and then it wasn't published to 10 other people. Today, these things are retexted or retweeted or whatever, so the message gets perpetuated and it's in writing and it becomes evidence in a criminal matter.
Yeah, and in the old days, Bob, in the old days, which is a couple of years ago, it was hearsay because I'd go to testify and I'd say, "Well, Bob told me." You go, "Well, you can't testify, what you heard or something like that." And now it's there. There's a record.
There is, but the hearsay rule still applies from a legal standpoint. Still applies to the text. There were a lot of texts that were not admitted into evidence that the prosecution attempted to admit because of the hearsay rule. It did not involve a defendant's statement or information that was conveyed to the defendant. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of exceptions to the hearsay rule and one of those has to do with the defendant's statement that could be admissible anyway. But that rule still applies even to text messages as to whether or not it's hearsay or documents that contain statements.
Bob Fitzsimmons is with us, attorney for the girl and for the family of the victim in the Steubenville rape case. Bob, comment if you will, and I want to ask this carefully, is that there was a lot said certainly in the social media leading up to the trial, and in the trial, some of the defense statements alluding to the character and behavior of the victim. And I think you talked about that earlier, and to some degree, it almost put her on trial. Would you just comment generally about that?
Yeah, that's the message, one of the messages that I hope that people gather from what has happened in a very sad event. And it was sad. The emotions were not one of happiness and glee and things like that yesterday when the trial came down. It was sad to watch these young men that this is going to have such an impact on them and their family and their friends. But on the other side of the coin, here we have this young girl, 16, and that's the very message that needs to be told. Women need to be able to be strong enough to hope that the laws protect them, that they can get into court and not have to be attacked and not be the defendant on trial. And that's what happens in these cases. That's what the Rape Shield statute is designed to protect, so that women can have the courage and feel safety when they get up there, that they aren't going to be asked about what they did 5 years ago with some other person, which is totally irrelevant to a rape charge. And that's one of the things. And this little girl had a great deal of courage to get up there and to go through this. It wasn't something that she elected to do. She did not point the finger at these boys. She was not the accuser. These boys accused themselves through the social media, and once the law enforcement officers started reading these social media text and things like that and saw these pictures, there was a crime there, and they prosecuted it, and they appropriately got convictions.
What is the girl doing now? And again, her identity has been, nobody's revealed her identity, which is appropriate. Can you say, though, is she in school, or how is she doing, or what are her plans for the future, or her family's plans for the future?
Yeah, the media has been great about not publishing the names of the family or the victims and stuff, but look, this stuff gets out, especially with the social media, so people, at least within those communities up in Steubenville and northern West Virginia and the Panhandle, have heard the names, and many people know who the families are that were involved in these things. So that hasn't been as anonymous as it was designed to be it just hasn't been because of the attention. But the family now is, trying to heal and trying to move on. She's trying to live a normal life. That's what she wants, and that's what she was worried about. This whole thing is that she wouldn't have her normal teenage life. Where it's a fun period of time for most every person that's ever been on this earth. Going through high school is a great time. It's great memories and wonderful memories. She has this scar now also, but I will tell you, this family is really strong. They got great support with brother-in-laws, sisters, brothers, grandparents, church people, neighbors, friends, and they're really pushing on. It's kind of a model for what do you do when something like this happens? How do you address it? Do you bring it to the attention of authorities? Do you participate in that willingly? And how do you try to heal? And hopefully women throughout the world will gain some strength from this. Many women that have been raped have sent emails or messages, and that were designed to go to the victim and to convey to her their appreciation of her strength and their prayers for her also. And I think that's really been a big help. It really has. Will you file on behalf of the family a civil lawsuit against the attackers? And we have not made a decision. Against who? Against the attackers, against the two teenagers. Against the two teenagers. Which is, in other words, has been used frequently throughout this. Decision has not been made at this point. Does the family accept the apologies of the two teenagers that came yesterday in court? The Richmond young man he verbalized an apology to the mom and her family, including the victim, and the mom indicated that she did forgive him at that point, and that was a very touching moment in court. I'm not so sure that the other boy's statement to the court was really an apology to the family. I think it was an apology to his family and his friends and some other people. But so the mom has indicated that she forgives the one defendant, and is praying for him that he learns his lesson and that he has a better life and by learning from what's been done in this particular case. As to the rest of the family, I don't know that forgiveness has been done, but I know that they're praying for strength to be able to do that at some point.
Bob Fitzsimmons, Wheeling attorney and attorney for the family and for the victim in this case. Bob, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.